Hello, IPHC family. My name is Brad, and this is episode 6. First, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to everyone who has called, text, sent social media messages. What a great response. Thank you so much. I hope these videos have helped you. We didn't go through every single line. There's still things that are out there that we have to really think through, but at least the big picture items we can see. And the last big picture item that I want to talk about in this final episode is about how things will affect the conference and the local church. That was the initial question that I brought. It was like, how is this going to affect me as the local pastor in a local church? Well, I think for us to understand that, we got to go back and look at a couple things that have been proposed in the bylaws. One was the financial cut. It's, we keep saying 1.4. It's $1.35 million that is being proposed as a cut to the national office up in Oklahoma City. And so to do that, they're streamlining some ministries and they're bringing together EVUSA and discipleship ministries. And this new director will then get a choice about what's going to be priority. And, with the cuts, that means that they're going to have to make certain parts of those two jobs a priority. So whatever was important in discipleship ministries or whatever was important in EVUSA, now that they're meshed together, the new executive director will have to decide what's priority, and he or she will hire based on what their priorities are. That means that anything else is going to be pushed down to the conference. Now, why am I saying that? Well, that's what some of the bylaw committee members have said. That's what I've heard in different conversations, that they're going to give a lot more flexibility to the conferences. So let's look at that in the bylaws. Article 2, Section A, under conferences, it says the conference is to empower and equip the local church. And they're to make the ministries and programs of the IPHC available. They're also to oversee, and this is a key word, provide resources to the pastors of each of the conference congregations. They're to discover, develop, and implement strategies for pastoral and congregational health. And they're to assist congregations and clergy in planting new congregations. So the concept is, all right, the national level is going to do so much, but then at some point they're going to push all that down to the conference, and it's up to the conference to then provide resources and church planning and all that stuff from the conference level. And they're saying this is going to happen because now the conferences have more money. Now, here's my issue, and I think here's what we need to. If you're in a conference that's large, this is great. Like, large conferences in our denomination are going to have anywhere from $227,000 to $159,000, $188,000. If you're in large conferences, at that amount of money, you could use that money to provide resources, plant churches. That's per year. But some of our smaller conferences are going to have less than $20,000. Some will have $6,000. Some will have $15,000. Some will have $3,200 a year, and they're supposed to produce resources for church growth, for discipleship, for small groups, depending whatever the national level doesn't make a priority, they're saying the conferences are supposed to put those together. Now, I think for us to think about that is, okay, if we're saying in our bylaws that we want alignment, and alignment's good up to this certain point, and then we say, let's disperse it to the conferences and let the conferences do whatever they want to do, I think we lose alignment. Here's a key statement. Ready? All right. Organizations that are successful have standards. And so if our standard gets to the conference and it can be anything we want it to be, then we're not all doing the same thing. We're not all having the same standard. And we're not all having the same amount of money to help our local churches. Remember, 80% of our local churches are under 100 people. So they do need resources. They do need national resources. And they need resources from the IPHC. We do not need to keep gleaning and taking resources from the AG, the Church of God, and other organizations. We are a large organization that has brilliant people. And so we should be using our people to create resources for us. And so I think that's the question. So if you're a delegate, if you are a pastor, you need to talk to your conference bishop and ask that bishop, what is their plan with the funds that they would have available if the new cut or the new structure in the bylaws in the cut, and it helps the conference. What do they plan to do with their money? What are the processes? What are they going to focus on? How is that money going to be used? I think this is a good question because we have from the national level now our ministers credentialing program. Used to all of our conferences had their own school of ministry, but now we're saying let's use the minister credentialing program that came down from the national office, the national level, and all of our conferences are encouraged, and hopefully they're going to be using this, especially according to new bylaws, using this as the standard. Then if let's just say the new church ministries guy says, I'm not going to focus that much on children, but I want to focus on just, church planning, and I'm not going to focus on kids as much. And so then we're going to ask all of our conferences to write kids programming, or now we're going to be going outside to find kids programming. Now, that's an extreme example. Please, they're probably not going to do that. But that's the idea. So whatever is not a priority for the executive director of church ministries is being pushed down to those conferences, and those conferences now will have to provide resources, create resources, help plant churches, help churches grow, help churches become more healthy. So I think that's something we need to consider. I believe you need to talk to your conference bishop, find out. Now listen, let me just say this as I close. The report that we got on the commission report, that was finished in July of 2024. The bylaws committee started around the end of 24, beginning of 25. They began to work through this. Our conference bishops, our council of bishops, our executives, the bylaws committee, they have been immersed in all of this for several years. They have seen it. We've had less than 30 days to digest and to come up with our own ideas and thoughts about it. That's why I'm saying reach out to your conference bishop, because they've been in it. They're going to have a better grasp of it, and you can ask really good questions to find out how that money is going to be used. I think it's kind of if you just look at it on paper, your larger conferences, yes, they're going to benefit greatly. So they're going to have more money, and they probably could produce some of these things. But some of your smaller conferences that have $9,000 or $4,000 or $3,200 or $2,200, I just don't know how that amount of money, even with their budget, that extra little bit amount of money can make a significant impact in helping the local church. So those are important things for us to think about. Now listen, it's been a great pleasure to be a part of this. Thank you again for watching. I look forward to seeing you next week in Alabama. It's going to be a great time. See you soon.